G'day everyone, I'm AzureBlaze, and welcome to another look at video. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these. I've been wanting to do more, however I've been sort of hunting down upgrades for this setup. As can be seen, I've got a nice new background which looks very nice. I'm very happy with it. And the lighting's a little bit better. I apologize if there's anything too reflective. It's a bit hard to do the lighting consistently in these videos simply because I have to essentially get rid of the set every single time I'm finished because it's on my dining room bench. Basically, that's the problem. Well, it's a little bit off it actually over here. Anyway, I have to do that every time. However, in today's video, we're going to look at this, the Mario Kart World Stack Magazine for JB Hi-Fi. The Stack Magazines are, well, they're for JB Hi-Fi, basically, which is a sort of a multimedia store, I guess, here in Australia. I don't know if any other countries have them or not. Yeah, I don't know. I apologize if my bird is being too loud as well. She was quiet, as per usual. However, yeah, no, this is Stack Magazine. It's a little magazine that they do pretty much every week, I think. And instead of like issuing it out to people, they leave it at the front of their store and you can pick one up and take it with you type thing. And it gives you good in-depth reads on things that are happening in the store and stuff like that. And I picked this one up back around, well, I mean, this says Mario Kart World and the Switch comes out on June the 5th. You know, therefore I picked this up back a bit further, a bit ago, basically around the time of the launch. And yeah, I am I am excited to go through it on the video. I mean, I've seen it myself. I mean, I'm not going to be going through the whole thing because there's a whole lot of stuff in these magazines. Like, these are store magazines, not necessarily magazines dedicated to whatever is on the front cover type thing. Therefore, there's a whole bunch of things in it. Therefore, I'm going to go through, there's like a whole Switch section with, and like Mario Kart World section and stuff like that. And I think I'll go through that instead. However, yeah, I may as well go straight into it. Yeah, this is the front cover. It looks really nice. It's got a nice big spread of Mario Kart World's box art on it. It's a really nice, actually, look. It's a good way to grab people's attention too, I guess. Yeah, then it shows the Switch bundle of Mario Kart World on the Switch 2. And this one sort of, and it says that like, it explains the Switch 2, like go hand on with it and stuff like that on the inside and things like that. And you can win a Samsung 75-inch TV with soundbar. Yeah, anyway, moving on in. Yeah, there's this whole like massive spread on Switch 2 stuff. And I mean, it's been a few months since the Switch 2 came out, and I don't know, this is sort of fun to look at now that it's been a little bit of time. Where we go? Here we go. See what's new with Nintendo Switch 2. And it's basically going over all the different Switch 2 things. I like that they use Donkey Kong, considering Donkey Kong wasn't out at the time. It even has a little thing here that says coming 17th of July. I'm hoping this is focusing alright. I really hope it is. It seemed to be. Oh, hold on. I'll have a quick look. See. Seems to be focused. Yeah. Again, not a setup I can play around with as every single. I have to play around with it every single time. As well as getting it. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. They got a nice big spread here on the Switch 2. They talk about it's got a bigger screen, same thickness, which I don't know whether that's a good thing or a detriment to the Switch 2, to be honest, as I've gone on. However, I don't know. They go big with a 7.9-inch screen that lets you enjoy smooth gameplay anytime, anywhere. Interesting that, I mean, I'm assuming they wanted to keep it simple for people who don't generally go much into the text side of things. However, yeah, it's interesting that they specify the size of the screen. However, they don't say it's like 120 hertz. Or anything like that. It simply says smooth gameplay anywhere, anytime. Interesting. Joy-Con 2 controllers connect in a snap, which is a nice little way of saying it. Meet the new Joy-Con 2 controllers designed to attach and detach with ease. Strong magnets keep the controllers firmly attached to the system. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. I like how yeah, I do like how they got these little things. Smooth mouse controls of Joy-Con 2. The mouse sensor on the side of each Joy-Con 2 controller lets you turn surfaces like a table or your lap into a mouse pad. I mean, the lap is a little bit more debatable. It does work on the lap, however, it's not, in my opinion, it's not the best. And then it has like a little fine print down here, only incompatible games, which I think is funny. New stand with freely adjustable viewing angle. That's... I mean, it is a new stand, technically. However, like, the OLED had a nice stand too. It's not like it's a new thing. However, it technically is a new stand, I guess. Place your Nintendo Switch 2 however you like in tabletop mode using a large stable stand. With 150 degrees of freedom, you can always find a comfortable viewing angle, perfect for playing together. Yeah, I mean, it's not a new thing, I guess, necessarily. However, it is a new stand, technically. Say hello to game chat. Start a chat with friends at any time using the C button. And that's all that they've written on that, basically, at the moment. Yeah, double check this again. On my screen, it looks blurry. However, I don't know. It's just strange. It like, my camera outputs a fairly low resolution to the screen that I'm using to like test it on and everything like that, which is frustrating. Therefore, it's a little bit hard to tell whether it's like, I don't know. Anyway, then we got this month in stack, and there's like a whole lot of things here. As I said, we won't be going too much into that sort of stuff. However, I will be going into this because it says back in 2017, Nintendo surprised the world with the release of the Switch. Was it a handheld games machine? Yes. Was it a TV tethered home console? Yes. The hybrid console was born. Naturally, the new Switch 2 hitting this month doesn't reinvent the wheel. That was great about the first iteration. Is great about this one, about this new one. Nintendo know what they're doing, and we have wisely enhanced functionality wherever possible. In handheld mode, this means improvements such as a larger screen with higher resolution plus HDR, matching larger controllers that fit adult hands better without being too big for the kids, but for larger memory and more internal storage, and an adjustable height kickstand that's more stable than the original. Definitely more stable than the original. As I said, it's about the same as it's like the Switch OLED again. Interesting enough that they do talk about here, it says they said a higher resolution, they talk about HDR, 4K, nothing on the 120 Hertz. I don't know, but it's interesting to see. Yeah, then they do go on to talk about, compatible with 4K resolution, has a launch game, Mario Kart World, and try not to be impressed. To be completely honest, Mario Kart World isn't necessarily the most impressive looking game. Okay, it looks good, don't get me wrong, it looks really, really good. However, it's not like the big show-stopping looking game, in my opinion. Yeah, they've had several hours to play before release, and they sort of go into it in this thing. First things first, they go over like gaming in general, some gaming stuff. The top 10 best sellers at JB Hi-Fi May 2025, the AFL, Doom, Minecraft, Clear Obscure, Elden Ring, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is absolutely hilarious. The Precinct, one of the AC games, Super Mario Party Jamboree, and Split Fiction. Interesting. Yeah, and then they have these little, like, interviews, I guess is probably the best way to put it, with Tyler Crash Stark. Is he the reporter or the reportee in this situation? I have no idea. What's your earliest video gaming memory? Playing Pitfall, my brother's old Atari on a CRT TV. It was in the middle of summer and hot. It was fun, yeah. The fun little things like this. I kind of wish a lot more things did like stuff like this. It's really more of a magazine thing, I guess. I know blogs and stuff sometimes do it. What's your all-time favorite game or series? My favorite series is The Legend of Zelda, specifically The Wind Waker on GameCube. That was my introduction to the series, and it's my favorite. I'm beyond hyped to play it again on Switch 2, however, PS5 Spider-Man Miles Morales is probably my all-time favorite game. Interesting. What have you been playing mostly lately? I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West. It has like a slight Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild vibes, while being such a unique adventure. Play a lot of Splatoon every day on my lunch break. Okay, that's interesting. You can only have one games console from any era. What would it be and why? That's tough. If I choose the Switch 2, do I get it early? Even if I have to wait for it, that's going to be my choice. Between the new games coming, the original Switch library, and the classic collections, it definitely has enough to get me going. Interesting. Very big on the Switch 2 before it even came out. Hi bird. She will not at the moment. Anyway, what's the best thing about working in games at JB? Being part of such an awesome community. I like talking about gamers, about favorite games, and recommending new stuff that they might enjoy, as well as getting recommendations myself, especially when kids and people new to gaming come in for their first console. It's exciting to be one who welcomes them into this world. That's nice. I like that. Thank you, Tyler Stark, otherwise known as Crash, I guess. Are you up to answering all 8 of this month's gaming-related poses? I don't know necessarily what that means. Well, I guess we can have a quick go at it. I mean, I probably don't know most of them. What was the name of Hideo Kojima's first game as a director released in 1987? Was that the first Metal Gear? That would be my guess. What's the name of the 2022 game where you clean up the town of Muckingham? I have no idea. From which farming, life, and social simulation series was the original Rune Factory a spin-off? I believe, is that... I can't remember the name. I cannot, for the life of me, remember the name, which is frustrating me because I do want to work it out. Yeah, I don't know. What's it called? Fantasy Life? No, that doesn't sound right. That's a different one, isn't it? Maybe I'm right. I don't know. What's the name of the forthcoming MMO from Mind's Eye creators Build a Rocket Boy? I have no clue. Characters from which legendary JRPG series collide with those from Disney and Kingdom Hearts? That's Final Fantasy. I know that one. From which Japanese media franchise is the Summer Games a spin-off? I have no clue. What was the subtitle of the 5th Five Nights at Freddy's game? I have no clue. What was the original Harvest Moon for Super Nintendo known as in its native Japan? Is it Harvest Moon? Is that the answer to the other one before? I have no idea. There you go. And then they do a sort of an interview with Juno Lee, creative director on the first Berserker Kazan at Nepal. I have no clue what that is. I'm assuming it's a game. What was the first game that you played? It was Galaga, and I played it at an arcade. I was really young at the time. I think I was 6 years old in Korean age. What does that mean? I don't remember much overall, however I recall being fascinated. Apologies for the cut there, I'm not sure where it necessarily cut out. I looked up and then I saw a massive... Oh, the movie recording is stopped for some reason, despite the fact that I've got new things for it which are meant to not do that. I guess it simply wants to do that regardless. Anyway, I'll continue on, I guess. I don't know. This guy talks, Juno Lee talks about Sega games and all that sort of thing, and he started developing Kazan. Yeah, it's interesting. Then they can got a little sweepstakes up for getting a new Samsung TV with a soundbar, which we're gonna skim past. Anyway, hands-on with the Nintendo Switch 2. This is like the main stuff I wanted to look over. It's the release month for the hotly anticipated Nintendo Switch 2, having the opportunity for an earlier hands-on. Here's what we learned about this exciting new hybrid console. But Amy Flower, who, that's a nice name, I actually like that name. it's a very fantasy-like name, Amy Flower. Anyway, in hand. When we first encountered the original Switch, we were surprised at how big it was. Okay. And then, now this one's a lot larger. Attached to the Joy-Con 2 controllers have grown to accommodate this. Those Joy-Con 2 are now a doddle to remove? What does that mean? With the button each side at the top rear that slides sideways to release their pleasingly solid magnetic hold. Looking at the sides that are usually hidden when attached to the screen, the SL and SR buttons are now larger, which works a treat when using them singly as controls. Gosh, I was expecting to say as single controls, not singly. I don't know if I've ever heard the term singly before. Anyway, the screen itself, while not OLED, which is always upsetting to me, it looks very good, with the leap in resolution from 720p to 1080p this time out bringing the key improvement, as well as HDR capability for brighter whites and deeper blacks, which, yeah, it's not as nice as the OLED though, to be honest. Tabletop time. There's a little difference between tabletop on the Switch 2 to the original Switch, apparently. I mean, I guess, yeah, the bigger screen does mean less squinting, as it says there. The big improvement is on the back of the Switch 2, the shape of the new stand. I mean, yeah, I guess. This is its wide fold-out bar that allows you to adjust the angle upon which the Switch 2 faces. The OLED did that as well, despite what that says. The OLED didn't have a larger flap. It had like a full... It's the same thing, except this time around it's got like a hole in the middle. Anyway, as seen on TV, when the Switch 2 is connected to a television, you can really notice the improved graphics of the new system. When output is such a way where games support it, you can take in glorious 4K vision complete with HDR, as well as up to smooth 120 Hz frame rate. I mean, it's not necessarily 120 Hz frame rate, and they didn't mention that for the screen of the Switch itself. However, not necessarily, I mean, it's got a 120 Hz screen, however, barely any games support that. Like, therefore, yeah, I don't know. The new Mario Kart World is a wonderful showcase, as we reckon many a new Switch 2 owner will discover on launch day. Meanwhile, Zelda fans are going to like the improvements in graphical fidelity made to both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom via their Switch 2 upgrades. Yeah, basically going over the normal stuff. what the original Switch had, however better, and then in this side it's more like the new stuff, I guess. And then they talk about the mouse here. They talk about drag and drive, which, I mean, I liked drag and drive, however there's not much to it, sadly. There really isn't much to it, upsettingly. Yeah, they talk about the Joy-Con 2 controls your wheel and stuff like that. The other mouse revelation came via the demo of the forthcoming Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I'm assuming they were at the Melbourne Switch event, which I wanted to go to. Melbourne in Australia, which is the only place it was, however it's way too far away for me. Anyway, yeah, they converts the mouse by simply tipping it inside and popping it into the onto a surface is seamless, in case of allowing you to look around and get back to business. Yeah, they talk about the mouse mode briefly and stuff like that. Mic check, the Switch 2 comes with a built-in microphone, which we got to test out by shouting loudly during one of the mini-games in the updated Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV. I have played that, the updated version, using a camera I had sort of lying around. It's fine, there's not much to it, I guess. It's probably the most ideal way to test the functionality, however, probably not the most ideal way. However, we're happy to report that it certainly did work. Naturally, the main purpose of the microphone is for less reality pursuits, such as in-game chat with others. Smile for the camera. We were able to quickly sample the new camera support via Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV. Oh gosh, I need to use that as one of my tongue twisters before I start recording, I think. If you ever played with the Kinect on Xbox, you might find this bringing back memories. I feel like it's more like the iToy on the PlayStation, personally. As we had our image sucked into the game for various minigame pursuits and for Bowser to mess with. The official camera itself is quite a neat, unobtrusive device that will happily sit next to people's TVs without looking out of place. I don't know, I'm not interested in getting the camera, to be completely honest, however, yeah. Then they talk about, I guess, accessories? Well, a accessory, I guess. Oh, then they have the specs here. We'll go over that in a minute. Let's go. We'd been super hyped to get to play with the Switch 2, and our expectations were met, and even exceeded in many ways. It's a substantial update over the original Switch, not only in terms of capability, however as well in how solid it feels, from the console itself to the control sticks and the buttons. It feels premium. Between that and a raft of new and updated games, things are looking rosy for Nintendo's latest hardware. I mean, the Switch 2 is selling great, to be completely fair, therefore, yeah. Going Pro, we're keen to get our mitts on the new Pro controller, and we're happy to report that it's as solid as ever, despite feeling a tad lighter in the hand than its predecessor. Interesting. I mean, I haven't tried it myself. I haven't used it at all. Therefore, it might be lighter. I am not sure. I apologize just about how I keep doing the manual focusing. My autofocus, it's set up. I had it set up to do it, and it wouldn't do it. I don't know why. This is a very expensive camera. It's frustrating me. Yeah, anyway, this is the same. Yeah, they talk about the Pro Controller. It's got this new C button, which of course it does. The mappable buttons on the back. It's a classically shaped controller. Oh, this is interesting. Rather than attaching the two Joy-Con 2s to the puppy dog-like grip adapter. Interesting that they call it that, because I feel like that's like a fan coin thing. I don't know if Nintendo's ever said that. They may have, I'm not sure. However, that's like a fan coin thing. I hear a lot of people say the dog bone, which doesn't really make sense. That's more like the NES dog bone controller. However, I think they simply call it that because dogs. Where if you have like the Joy-Cons on this thing, it looks kind of like a puppy dog, I guess. It's one way to look at it. It's interesting. Anyway, then they talk about the specs over here in this little box, which is nice to actually have. I kind of like that. The processor is the custom NVIDIA Tegra T239. It is indeed. NVIDIA put out a whole video on that, actually. Resolution touchscreen, 1920 by 1080 Full HD, HDR, variable refresh rate up to 120 Hz. Resolution docked, up to 3840 by 2160p, 4K, HDR10, variable refresh rate up to 120 Hz. That's not true. The Switch docked doesn't support variable refresh rate, as far as I'm aware. They did accidentally state it did to start with, and I don't believe it actually does. I might be wrong, however, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Memory 12 gig, inbuilt storage 256 gigabytes, which is, I mean, it is up from the original, however, it's nowhere. that's like 3 games, to be honest. Anyway, removable storage microSD Express up to 2 terabytes, not compatible with original Switch microSD. Yeah, because the Express is faster. Backwards compatibility, yes, with most Switch game cards and downloadable titles. Most. Something I've been finding interesting, and I haven't seen anyone talking about this, there are games that work if you use the physical version. However, if you try to get them on the eShop, there's like, because it only has a Switch 1 version, I'm thinking of games like Tokyo Xanadu, some of the old Star Wars games and stuff. You can't get them on the Switch 2, it says it's incompatible. However, when you put the cart in, because I have the cart for Tokyo Xanadu, it works fine. Therefore, that is interesting. I haven't really seen anyone talk about that though. Speakers stereo. Connectivity, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2. Wi-Fi 6 has been such a godsend, to be honest. My OLED Switch never worked online, like, very well. Like, it worked every now and then. Even when trying to play a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, I would drop out about, I want to say about 8 out of 10 matches, like, or before pre-matches and stuff like that. That's how bad it was. However, I barely ever have that happen now. It's great. Yeah, Bluetooth 5.2, 3.5mm audio jack, and 2 times USB-C. I have a bit of a rant about the USB-C. I don't like that you can't use the top USB-C to transfer photos and stuff to the PC. You can only do it using the bottom, which doesn't make much sense to me. My best guess is that the top one doesn't have data transfer capabilities. However, I don't know, I feel like I've seen it do data transfer before. I simply don't know, can't recall where. However, yeah. Anyway, then they talk about the battery, 2 to 6.5 hours. Ooh, 5,220 milliamp hours. I am not a big fan of the battery in the Switch 2. It drains really quick. Dimensions, yep, and the weight, which is neat. And then probably the last page I want to look at. There's some laptops on that side. However, the last page I kind of want to look at. This one, Switch on with these games, these launch games. It talks about the launch games of the Switch 2. That didn't really work the way I wanted it to. Yeah, it talks about some of the launch games. There's plenty of game action to have it on day one of the Nintendo Switch 2's arrival. The trickiest thing is deciding what to play first. Therefore, and they have this little list. It's not like it's... They sort of got it set up to look like it's ordered, especially with Mario Kart World on the left here. However, it's not ordered like, at all, by what I can tell. Therefore, yeah, I guess starting from the top, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, combining classic action RPG gameplay with a life simulation. Kanunas will be playing that on the channel at one point, when she eventually gets a Switch 2. We do own the physical limited or collector's edition or whatever it is for the Switch 1 version, because there was no collector's edition for the Switch 2 version, which was upsetting. And then they delayed the collector's edition for the Switch 1 version until well after the launch of the Switch 2 and the Switch 1 version, digitally and physically otherwise. And I don't know why. They didn't add the Switch 2 version into it or anything. It was strange. Yeah, and Sonic Cross-Show Generations, that's a game keycard. Split Fiction, that's a game keycard. That's a game keycard. That's an upgrade. That's an upgrade. That's a game keycard. That's a game keycard. That's not. That's a game keycard. Therefore, like, the only 2 games on here that are like, I mean, Zelda, both of them are on the system and on the cart and everything like that. However, the only other 2 non-Nintendo games here that are on the carts are Cyberpunk and Rune Factory, which I think is funny, to be completely honest. I was to say about Zelda, revisit the amazing adventure with even more life breathed into it. Breathed into it? Breathed into it? How do you say that? For Switch 2, explore the wilds of Hyrule with improved frame rate and resolution, faster loading HDR, and Zelda Notes app support. And I'm assuming this sort of says the same sort of thing. The sequel of the Breath of the Wild the sequel to Breath of the Wild receives an upgrade treatment as Link takes to the land and skies with better resolution and frame rate, speedier loading times, HDR, and Zelda Notes app support. Yeah. And then Mario Kart World, inarguably the key launch title for Switch 2. I mean, it was. This is the first all-new Mario Kart in 11 years and brings a raft of new features set in a vast interconnected world. 24 drivers, 4 on one Switch 2 can compete in classic races or in the new Knockout Tour. No, apologies about the cut there again. It did it again. I don't know why. I think it's doing it every 10 minutes like it used to do. However, I thought I'd fix that problem. Apparently not. Anyway, yeah, they're talking about Mario Kart World. It's a key launch title for Switch 2. First one in all new Mario Kart in 11 years. Does Tour count? Home circuit and Tour exists. The arcade games, I don't know if they came out before or after 8. I think they came out after, though. I don't know. It talks about 24 drivers, 4 on 1 Switch 2 can compete with classic races or the new Knockout Tour, or go exploring a new free roam mode. The Knockout Tour thing's interesting. I like how it says it's new. Other games have done it in the past, of course, like F-Zero 99 and stuff like that. I mean, it's new for Mario Kart, and it's called Knockout Tour, which is new. In Team Sonic Racing, which I was playing recently on the channel, there's like a survival race, which is very similar as well, which is older as well. However, yeah, that is basically all I want to go through with this, only because, like, I don't really, nothing else really, I don't feel like I need to share anything else on the channel. That's what I sort of wanted to talk about, therefore, yeah. I do have more of these stack magazines. I know I have a Mario Tennis Aces one from around the release of that game, which I do want to talk about. It's hiding somewhere, though, and I need to find it. I know it's around either my parents' place or here somewhere. However, yeah, that was my look at the Nintendo Switch 2 Stack magazine, issue number 248 from June 2025, around the launch of Switch. Interesting to see, like, how this sort of compares now that the Switch has been out for a few months. However, I believe for this video, that is all from me. Thank you for watching, and I shall be back in the next one. Cheers, everyone.